Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the RomaPress podcast. We hope you are doing very, very well, as I'm sure most of you are after Roma dismantle Empoli. We will get to that in one moment very quickly. Thank you to our newest patron over at Patreon, Martin Schuster, who you can find on Twitter, or I should say X now, which is weird to say, at Schuster Martin and the number 5. Thank you, Martin. And of course, thank you to all of our other wonderful patrons who make this all possible. This is one of those rare moments, Andy, and we just have to take it in. It was 7-0, but Roma won. Roma won. You and I have been doing this podcast a number of years now.
Yep.
And
We've
far
been there.
more
Yes,
often
we've
than
been
I'm
there.
Yes, I mean, far more often than we are probably willing or would want to admit, we have been on the opposite end of this. However,
We were here when Bodo gave us the 6-1 beating. We were here when Fiorentina gave us the 7-1 beating.
oof,
Yep. I
that
remember.
one was bad. I mean, if we go down the list, it's going to absolutely piss away all of the excitement that we're feeling right now in this moment. But I just, before we get into the particulars, we just have to sit here just for one moment and take it in, because we have been on the opposite end of this. I mean, you just rattled off without even thinking two occurrences of it.
Yeah.
If challenged, we could probably come. I mean, the Bayern one comes immediately to my mind too, because I had to see Rudy Garcia pull one off yesterday against Genoa. I'm always reminded of that one for the number of times we have watched it happen to us when we are the ones doing it.
Yep.
You have
Feels
to bask
good.
in it. You
It
have
feels good.
to, yes, and it is appropriate that the first video podcast happens on this day,
Had to be.
because
I'm pretty sure
yes,
it's not a coincidence. It's, the stars aligned for the first time. The
yes.
footballing gods were like, okay, let these two assholes have some fun.
Well, ask and you shall receive, because this is what you specifically
Yeah.
asked
Yeah.
for. I mean, we
Yes.
were both saying, and I have prefaced this, and I was not too worried, if I'm going to be honest with you, about the Borghino, because this Empoli is shit. They are terrible.
Yes.
They are bad. I said in the previous episode before the match, when I ranked all of the teams based on their summer business, they were at the bottom for me, simply because all of the loan deals I did, there was very little upside. We were also worried about Destro. He did score technically. It was an own goal, but I guess in some sense we were right in that regard. This team is terrible. So you obviously have to preface it with this, but you know what this Roma never does against teams that are terrible is go out and absolutely dismantle them, and they did that tonight. So I mean, there is zero things, in my opinion, that we could come on here, complain about, be critical of, whine about, moan about. I mean, this was 10 of 10. Yeah.
This, I mean, for the first time, I think this is how it feels like to be Real Madrid or Bayern after
Oof.
facing Roma. I think this is what Pep Guardiola felt like when he beat Rudy Garcia in the Champions League. He was like, "Is this for real? Like, is this? It really feels." It feels unfamiliar. Let's put it that way. It's a very. I mean, this is, if I saw it correctly, we haven't won with this score line since 2007. Can that be real? Because I think that's what I saw on Twitter, and obviously, or on X, and everything that you see on Twitter is real and truthful.
Right. Well, I would
As
have
we know,
assumed it was a Spalletti team. I just,
2006. It's 2006 against Catania. Like, let that sink in. 2006. What were you doing in 2006, and how many kids did you have?
Well, I was about to say probably like most of everybody here, trying to probably lose my virginity.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
But
So that's, I mean, think about it. Like that's you say time is a son of a bitch, and today I think I don't know, we it seemed like we went back in time, to to the days of a Roma that scored with ease, because we sat right here and we said it. We said, when was the last time Roma scored more than 3 goals? Like, you needed
it is
after
correct, by the way.
after
19th
2006.
November of
Yeah,
2006.
Jesus. So
Panucci,
fresh,
Mancini, Perotta, Perotta,
so
Panucci, Montella, Totti. Oof.
fresh off Italy's World Cup win, we went on to win 7-0. I mean, that's incredible, to because this is, we
Wow.
said it was what the team needed after those awful first 3 games of the season. The team needed a win that would encourage them, that would give them the confidence that they clearly lacked against Salernitana and Las Verona, and more recently against Milan. It had to be something that involved everybody, and that is something that also highlighted the importance of these new signings. I mean, if you think about it, today was the perfect night. You have Paulo Dybala scoring a brace, you have Romelu Lukaku scoring, you have Andrea Belotti getting 2 assists, you have Evan Dika making his debut, you have Renato Sanchez, a guy who's been dead since 1997, coming back to life and scoring. Like, that's, think about, and you win with this scoreline in a packed Olimpico. Like, is there a better way to get out there and play a game after the international break, with with the media, with everybody being very skeptical? Is this it? Like, we even said it ourselves. If they don't win tonight, it's over. Like, if
Right.
they don't win
Right.
tonight, you got problems. You got problems, and you have to worry.
It would have been a big worry, in my opinion, if they did not beat this Empoli. Again, I just think they're so filled with flaws. I was wrong. That own goal did not go to Destro. I
It
could have
was
sworn it
Grassi.
did.
It was Grassi.
Grassi. Yes, yes, it
Grassi.
was
Yeah.
Grassi.
Another
So
exciting name. Yeah. Another one of those.
right. I am still trying to comprehend that there is a 7-0 scoreline and Roma are on the favorable side of
Yes.
it. It is difficult to comprehend. I was just thrilled, and this is probably one of those minute points that maybe nobody else agrees with, or maybe it just really doesn't mean anything, and I am the one making something out of nothing. I have to tell you, I loved, what did they score? 3 goals in 5
Yep.
minutes, 6 minutes,
Yeah.
between,
Yeah.
like, 80
Yeah.
and 86 or 87. I'm
Yes.
trying to
Yes.
pull up the
Until the very
official
end, which is again something you don't see, like, right? Like, Roma,
right.
rarely do they pursue that score line. Like, I know that Mourinho just said, you when you win these games, you never think about that score line. You don't think about these games and wanting to win them.
We do.
We do.
Roma
We do.
supporters do, because it happens to us. We
No,
do.
exactly, exactly. And also, like, how many times have we said, oh man, like, can this team let loose? Like, can they just go for one more or two more, and really
Right.
show out? Because at the end of the day, you're not a world beater. You're not a Scudetto winning team. You're a team that wants to qualify for Champions League football. So once in a while, you need these boosts for confidence. I can name various games like this for Inter, for Milan, for
Yes.
for Napoli. All of these teams in recent years have had similar score lines, and it worked wonders for them. So that's why I'm trying not to get too caught up in it, because it's a very sexy scoreline, but it works so wonderfully well for for this scenario of a team, starting out slow and then sort of getting the group back together, putting all the pieces together, seeing what fits, what doesn't, who is healthy, who isn't, and then just going at it. Because as Mourinho said, if you give us a full roster, if you give us a team that is healthy, more or less healthy, then we have great potential. And I think most of us would agree with that sentiment.
Yes.
It's that you never really had the chance to see everybody working together at the same time. And I think that's why today is so exciting, because yes, Houssem Ouar was not there. You had a number of players who could not play 90 minutes. You're still having to play Pagano every once in a while. But the thing about it is that this was it. Like, this is, in a way, this is the game you've been waiting for these past 2 years, right? Like a game where you see, I mean, with Mourinho, save for that, except for that Feyenoord win, and I would say also the Lazio derby win, where you were up 3-0 at halftime.
Ah,
You
right. Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah.
had the sense of a team just playing for fun, also just playing just to have fun with the scoreline. Let's see how
Yes.
let's see how far we can go with it.
Well, the thing for me too, and you and I have discussed this a number of times, and you led me into this just perfectly here, where you said that Napoli, Milan, Inter, Juve,
Yep.
they do this. Roma do not do this, and that is a mentality thing. That is, how many times have we seen a Roma just kind of,
Yeah, stomp, basically stomp. Right.
they've had their throat stepped on how many times, and how many times do
Yeah.
they have an opponent into the corner, and instead of just giving that knockout blow, they almost
Yeah, they're
help them off
just
of the
yeah.
mat.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Too
this is
many
something
times.
that not only do you impose your will, your quality, you punished a team, and that is something that, and this is good. I get way too much criticism for saying I am kissing the ass of Jose Mourinho. So I'm
Hey, me
prefacing
too,
that with
man,
this.
me
So
too.
yeah, so let me just preface it with that. But I think something like this is directly attributable to a guy like Jose Mourinho. You do not see Roma ever do this, where even, like I said, up until the 80th minute, it was 4-0.
Mhm.
Match was finished. Partita finita, was done. There was
Yeah.
nothing to do. You could have just coasted. No,
Yeah.
no, no. More, more, more. You never, ever, ever see Roma do that. And I can think of dozens of times where they could have done that, should have done that, because I think something like this, what, as we can attest, has a knock-on effect. It is one thing to lose 2, 3, 4-0. It is another to lose by 7. Completely different thing. It is no longer simply just a defeat. This is a mental collapse. It is a collapse in more than just one respect on the pitch. So much has to go wrong for you to concede 7 goals that this is no ordinary defeat. You cannot put it in the same category as losing 1-0. You can lose 1-0 a number of different ways. There's one way to lose 7-0, and it is to completely give up. It is to
Yeah.
completely collapse mentally, on the pitch, tactically. From a number of facets, you collapse. The bridge is down. It's collapsed. There's nothing that can be done. Roma never do that. They never, ever do that. They could win 3-4-0. They never, ever take their foot and just keep pressing down
Hmm.
on the opponent. They are far too polite. And this is something that, again, this is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
directly attributable to Jose Mourinho, and this is the mentality they need. This is what they need. I
and and
I, I
and,
don't
and
care.
that's that's but and I think it taps into exactly what I've been saying about Roma needing to take that step forward. And again, I
Yes,
want to urge caution and balance and judgment. Like, what I've been saying about this team is that it needs to make that step to qualify to Champions League football. But in order to do that, you need to have these nights. You need to have nights where you assert your dominance, where if you win in a convincing fashion that doesn't, it's not a coincidence. You won because you are the better team, because you're the stronger side, because you got better players, because you're more determined. and it cannot be there. These nights are the nights that exactly that sort of fill you with confidence in what you can do, but also make you believe that even though you're not exactly a Scudetto contending team, you're still a team that counts. It's you say
Yes.
it's one way to lose a match 3-0, 4-0. It's another way of losing 6-0, 7-0, and it's the same thing with winning. It's
Yes.
I mean, if we had won against this Empoli side 2-0, I'm pretty sure everybody would be happy. Yes, everybody would be happy
Right.
because you're, first win of the season. You're coming off a terrible opening to the season, so you take the win. But the 7-0 implies that there were some lessons learned.
Yes.
That this is not a coincidence. You put your foot to the pedal and you went at it, which is again something we haven't seen from Roma. So for me, this, as I always say after great nights, is it can be a start to something good. Like again, this is a win over a terrible Empoli side, likely one of the teams that will get relegated, most likely. Um, but you have
I
to
agree.
turn
Yeah.
that in your favor. You have to make it mean something more. You have to make it a point that this is only the start, that you'll see nights like these on a more regular basis. Now that we have the whole gang together, now that we have Renato Sanchez, who's a force of nature, now that we have Leandro Paredes, who hopefully starts to learn the ways that the midfield works, in Mourinho's mind, with Cristante there alongside him. Now that you have Paulo Dybala back to healthy, and now that you have Romelu Lukaku in a partnership with Dybala, you have to have that mentality of a team that knows that sky's the limit.
100%. And that belief, in my opinion, is again directly attributable to Jose Mourinho. As far as if we want to look at this match from a more granular perspective, you mentioned Renato Sanchez, Paredes. I mean, there was, if you want to go like 1 through 11, you can find something positive about every single player tonight. But the two I want to focus on are Paulo Dybala, Romelu Lukaku, and then Sanchez, because this is a guy, as you just said, last time he was healthy was the movie Titanic
2016,
was
basically. Man, it's just,
in theaters. Yeah,
yeah,
I think you said
yeah.
1997.
1997.
Um,
Yeah, that's the
it
Titanic and
seems
LA
like that long.
Confidential. Yeah.
But in seriousness, no, when you see him play like that, the dynamism this guy possesses and the number of things that he allows you to do in the middle of the pitch are I can't say endless, because I'm sure they are endless. And next time he does suffer an injury, but you understand what I'm saying. They just open
I
up so
know.
many
Yeah.
possibilities, and I look at that and I think to myself, like a tear streams down my face, and I think,
Yep.
oh my gosh, that is what Wijnaldum was supposed to be, and that is not what we saw. I
Yes.
mean, Sanchez showed more tonight in one match than Wijnaldum did in one full year at Roma. So I mean, I look at the guy like that and I think to myself, okay,
Right.
when you talk about potential, you mentioned when we have the whole gang together,
Yep.
this Roma is capable of some things. And it is true that the Roma we saw tonight, we can go through Lukaku being healthy, being more fit, Sanchez, obviously. We can go down the list. Indica playing. There's a ton of things we can point to. But when I think of like potential, okay,
Hmm.
potential, I think of a healthy Renato Sanchez playing like that. And again, I cry a little bit, and it's it just makes sense because it works. You think to yourself, yeah, you start convincing yourself, yeah, this Roma team is capable of things. It can be capable of winning things. It can win and compete for trophies, important trophies. They just have to harness this. And obviously, when it comes to Roma, the consistency is going to be the thing that always sort of is the thing we are worried of most. They could win 7-0, but
No.
this is a club where they win by 7, and then the next time they
Oh
fall
man,
to
I
a
mean we're playing in Moldova in a few days. Okay, so like, do, do you really think, like, I can already feel and see people like on our
yeah.
Patreon group chat, which you can join, by the way, if you go to patreon.com/RomaPress, um,
What a
because that's
professional plug
be,
that was. That was
because I
seamless.
know, thank you, because that is so typical, like to have one of those nights, and then you're looking at Thursday night, you're playing in Tiraspol in Moldova. It's so, oh man, it's been so funny because the coach there has been doing some interviews with the Italian media, and every interview is like,
Yes.
are you safe there? Is something happening there? How are you, like, is it safe getting there, like, so yes,
He's
we're
been doing
playing.
the deep cuts too with some of the radio stations he has been interviewing
He's been,
with.
yeah, yeah, and we'll
I know when
see,
they go on Teleradio Stadio, something's going on.
that's it. Him and the coach from the Azerbaijan national team, which I always forget what his name is, the Italian guy. But anyway, the point is that exactly, you win tonight, you win 7-0, but with this Roma team, you could potentially be looking at the same scoreline on Thursday in Sheriff's favor over you. So we'll. This is the beauty, I guess, and the
People are going to think
trap.
you were speaking of a Western. That was a club you were speaking of when you just
It's a
when you
clap.
just
Yeah,
said
I know. I'm sorry, guys. It's Sheriff Tiraspol, also known as Sheriff. So that's the. I mean, that's the. That's Roma for you. Tonight, everybody scores. Everybody's running. And doing everything at the same time, and it's wonderful, and the whole thing is clicking, and it's a beautiful melody. But then you're playing on Thursday, and God knows what happens. Mourinho said he wants to win on Thursday. Like, he wants to win, like he wanted to win today. He wants to win on Thursday. But we all know the motivations when you're looking for your first win in Serie A, and when you're
right.
playing on a Thursday night in Moldova. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's foggy, maybe you want to rest some players. Maybe you're playing on a potato field, although I don't think you can do much worse than the Olimpico right now. Um,
Mm,
like,
true.
but exactly, like, it has to. I really, I hope to God that a win like this, which in the hearts and minds of the fans is just something spectacular, and we're not going to sleep, and it's going to be wonderful, and everybody's going to be thinking about it for the next few days. I hope to God that this win becomes something of like a golden standard for Roma. I know that
Mm,
Mourinho said he didn't like certain things. He didn't like certain bench players. He didn't like the way some of the team played in the second half. Boom, 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 boom. Obviously, he has to say it because he's
that's him
never
though.
gonna
Yeah, I
come.
mean he's not going to
He's not gonna come out and say
come
we played
applaud and
perfect.
say 100 10 of
Exactly.
10. I mean
Exactly.
like you and I just did.
Exactly, but it has to be a golden standard. Like, it has to
Mm,
be, I don't know, there has to be some reference to this game. On one hand, you need to forget, right? Like, you have to put, because you haven't won anything, so it has to be the norm. But at the same thing, this is what you have to aspire to throughout the entire season, is that this is how high you can get. Like, this is your potential. You can go on these scoring runs. You can have everybody contributing, really everybody, because I mean, you have Andrea Bellotti. He doesn't score. He gets 2 assists, right? And
right.
Renato Sanchez, his first goal in God knows how long. That's the point. Is you can have these nights. If we fans sometimes believe in it, and we like to believe in it, we say it even for fun. Oh, Cristante scores the seventh goal, and then Cristante scores the seventh goal, or was it Gianluca Mancini? But anyway, that's the point. Is the team needs to have fun, the fans need to have fun, so you have to play with this same determination that allowed you today to come out with this very same scoreline.
Yeah, and that is really the thing. I would never expect Jose Mourinho to come out and
No.
say, "Yeah, 10 of 10, we did perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Bravo, we're going to do great." I mean,
Wrap it
for me,
up.
and I said
Yeah.
in the patron group chat, the only way me myself personally could take any sort of
Yeah.
a perfect score from this match was I said in the chat, the only way this is a 10 of 10 is if they show Mama Cancellieri on the video. Unless I missed it, they did not. They did not show her on the feed from the zone. So if somebody else did get some of that, then you had a 10 of 10 evening. So I'm not surprised or shocked by what Jose Mourinho says in the post match. The thing from this, as always, is going to be okay. Where do they go from here? Are they able to harness this? Are they able to carry this forward? Because now, you said in the previous episode, they have a good run of matches coming up here that they need to win. They do need to win them, but in my opinion, they're not straightforward. They're not easy.
No.
You're going away to Torino, Genoa, home to Frosinone, away to Cagliari,
Yeah.
and then home to Monza.
Yes.
Again, not
on
simple, but again,
on paper it looks wonderful, but the
right.
complexities. I mean, you said it yourself. Away to Cagliari. Think about it. We didn't have to
Always
deal with
difficult.
that. We didn't
Always.
have to deal with that for
Always.
1 year. It was the most beautiful year of my life. The year that I didn't have to watch this team play at Cagliari. But here we are, and as you said, there is all these games are complex. Today was complex. Think about it. The expectations was you have to beat this crappy team. You have to beat this team because they're shit. They have 0 points. They lost every game. They conceded everything. They haven't scored a single goal. You have to beat them. This team, and Roma, who have 1 point, an infirmary full of players getting back from international duty. They probably even haven't trained long enough. And the whole stadium is watching. The media is out there saying, well, is this the year where Roma crumble with Mourinho? Is this the year where Mourinho, his third year, the curse of the third year of Mourinho? So today wasn't easy. Beating an Empoli side that is so bad seems like something that Roma must do, and seems like it's the bare minimum. And I agree. I was the first one to say, if they don't win, we got a problem. But it's being out there on the pitch and saying it behind our microphone is a whole different thing. So we know now we go we go to Moldova. That's not an easy game. That's not an easy game by any
None of
means.
all of these exotic places that I have never, my passport has never been stamped from. They're always going to be difficult. I mean,
are you saying you're not going to go on a family trip with your 16 kids to Moldova
to watch Sheriff? No,
Sheriff.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think too, like the Boda is like the embodiment of these Europa League matches, because you not only are playing in Norway like they did, but you were playing on a plastic pitch, and with it snowing, just downpouring of snow, and you concede 5 or 6, and it's done.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I am curious to see what their approach is. I can't come on here and say I really don't care about the Europa League this season. You and I have both said, though, it is top 4.
Top 4 has to be priority. Yes,
that is a priority. So
no.
I would assume internally at Roma that is also their mindset. But even given that, they're not going to come out and not give their everything, given what we've seen from Jose Mourinho previously. I don't expect any sort of let up in their intensity or their effort. But this is sort of where we see, because when I think of Juve, after Juve they win 1-0, okay, or I'm sorry, after Juve has a big win like this, it seems like they always go out and whether they're playing Champions League, Europa League, they go out and they play. I'm trying to think.
I know.
Just a slightly bigger side that Sheriff. They will go out there and it will be a crap weather, crap conditions,
and it will be the same Rome, right? It will be, and everybody will still say, "Oh, there we go. That's the Roma we know." Yeah.
Well, right, but Juve, they consistently, and maybe this is more just an Allegri thing, but they always go out and they will win that next one, and it is never impressive. Yeah. It is never aesthetically pleasing. It is never eye-catching football, but it's effective, and they win.
Yeah,
that is something I have always envied about Juve. Again, maybe this is more so something about the Juve of Allegri, but they always go out and they win those real particular matches where they should win, but they're never so straightforward because you're
Hmm.
playing in a difficult environment. And that is one aspect of Juve that I have just been dying for Roma to adopt. And this is where we're going to see if they can do it. I mean, I could the stadium of Torino is nothing to get excited about either. If you've been to Torino, you look at the stadium of Juve, and then you go look at
Yeah, to
Torino,
the
and you think to yourself,
Philadelphia.
how
Yeah, to
how
the
are these even
Philadelphia
within
Stadium.
the same part of the globe, let alone within the same country? So listen, they am I going to if they draw on Thursday? Obviously, it's not an emergency situation.
Hmm.
I don't know if it necessarily dulls some of the excitement we're feeling now. Given I'm more focused on the league, if they have to just build on this because this means nothing if you go out there and you lose these next two matches. If you
No,
lose to
of course,
Torino,
of
you
course.
lose to Genoa, you
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
yeah,
draw to Cagliari,
yeah, yeah,
you drop points to any of these teams. This whole thing, everything we just said, this
yeah.
whole episode is moot, and you toss it into the bin, and it means nothing.
Yes,
So that is almost my fear in all of this. That
it
we
is
are so excited
with
right now, and we are
Roma.
just waiting for the drop kick. And I'm sure that's what Jose Mourinho is going to warn them about. That you can't you can cancel out essentially any goodwill you build up within yourselves with the supporters if you go out there and you just drop points. I mean, this is all for nothing, and that is really, in my opinion, where we see whether progress is made.
Hmm.
If they go out and they do, as you said, they have to win these next matches, both from a league and the Europa League perspective. I don't care about 7-0. If you just win, that's all that matters, in my opinion. If they can do that, then there is clear progress and very clear signs that they understand. Because how many times have we seen Roma? They will get the big win and then they follow it up,
Yeah.
you know, beat Atalanta and then draw to Sampdoria at
Oh
home.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
that so
Yeah.
many times.
The famous Christmas game with
Yes.
Sampdoria. God, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is my perspective, I guess, to put a nice little bow on this evening, because we're recording this immediately after the match. That
Yes.
is how I feel about this. As excited as I am, far too often we have seen them
Yeah.
just get you and I this excited. We have a great episode, and then we have to follow it up with them
Yeah,
having to
yeah,
drop
with the
points
whole
against.
series of downers. Yeah, it's like,
Yes,
it's like watching Dumb and Dumber the same evening that you decide to plug in Schindler's List a few minutes later. That's like one of those crazy experiments of just absolutely crushing every single
yes,
ounce of
it's true.
enthusiasm. Um, yeah, and I think that's Mourinho's biggest worry, to be honest. Like that's why he has to downplay it. As a manager, he cannot admit that this is important. This is a big deal. He can't. He has to downplay it because he knows, or at least he has to know by now, that within this place, like, it's great. You have fans losing their shit. You have the media immediately, putting you as a Scudetto favorite. Everybody's excited. The whole stadium is rocking. Wonderful. But the problem with that is that if the team taps into that a bit too much, they get overwhelmed. They get overwhelmed by this narrative, by the fact that, oh,
Yes,
now you're clearly the favorites. Now you're clearly the favorites to win your Europa League group, which they are, obviously, but still, we know how
right.
Roma play when they have that awareness. Now you're the clear favorite against Torino, which, again, they should know because they are clear favorites, but still, there has to be always like some balance that you and I strive and search for in this podcast, or on the live streams, or in our Patreon group chat, where there is none. um you know you have to
Paredes
you,
has a good match. I forget who it was, so I apologize. How do
you
you feel now? He's doing well. I mean, am I supposed to feel bad? I feel
yeah.
great. I'm excited when players that I
No,
don't
of
particularly
course.
think are strong enough do well. I'm excited. Am I
Exactly.
supposed to be mad over that? I'm excited. Come on, man. I'm
and that's
thrilled.
and that's the point, is that it's their job. For us, it's great, we have to contain ourselves, but or do we have to? We can, we can let emotions run wild, but the team
Right.
cannot. Like, after this win, there cannot be champagne on the floor. These guys have to go into that dressing room, congratulate each other, then goes home, sleep it off, and then prepare for the next game. And it has to become a process. That's how the teams like Inter, Milan, Napoli have gained an advantage over you. If they've made this a process, they've made it a part of their routine. They just it's part of their repertoire. And it's nothing to be to be too happy about. It's nothing to celebrate. It's part of who they are as teams. It's part of their path that leads them to their objectives, whether it's the Scudetto or Coppa Italia, or whether it's the top four. It's what we've been missing. It's what we've been missing. We, as a team, over the years, I mean, even we can go back to, this is a Roma thing, I think, also, just to get too excited about certain things and then let it get the best of you. Um, you can't, it just, and especially in the position that you're in now, you got 4 points. It's good, but it's not great. You
Right.
didn't get anywhere far this evening. You did what you had to do, and that has to be the mentality, that whatever scoreline it is, positive in terms of wins, it's nothing that you have to. I mean, look at Milan. They dominated
I was
us.
just about to bring that
We're
up to end that. That was
we were
yeah, that
yeah
was perfect.
we were completely dismantled by Milan. The scoreline will not say it, but we all know that the Roma that we saw could not match Milan in terms of intensity. Milan go out there yesterday, they get embarrassed by Inter on the biggest stage in the derby.
Yes.
Like, with the whole world watching, Milan crumbled. Milan folded. The same Milan team that won against us. So you cannot have these ups and downs. It is, right now, we're seeing a Serie A that is very competitive. Juve are back in it. You have Fiorentina, who upset Atalanta. You have Frosinone, who came back against Sassuolo today. You have Genoa, who upset Napoli, almost won that game. You cannot let these matches go and not treat them as kind of like a just business as usual, lesson learned, move on, and boom. It has to be, because that's the only way you can match the others in terms of intensity, is if you match them in their mentality.
I couldn't put it better myself. I think that is spot on, and I have the zone playing right now, and it is so nice to see executives from the other club having to come out and put their face to this and answer for what just happened on the pitch. I'm brought back to so many opportunities where we are on the opposite end of this. I just, for it to be the shoe to be on the other foot this time is such a good feeling. Okay, we're going to end it there. Hopefully, the video on this comes out relatively well. YouTube.com/. RomaPress, the same as all of our social media handles. This is going to be, we will be recording on video moving forward. Just be patient with us. There will be some hiccups along the way, but
We'll get it
we're
right.
getting there.
We'll get
Yes,
it
we will
right.
get it right. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Until next time, ciao.
Ciao.